Hey there, it's Stephanie with the Rancher's Homestead. Welcome back to the channel. So one of the questions that I get asked often is, how do I cook completely from scratch? How do I have time to cook completely from scratch? So today I am going to go over a few of my tips in being able to cook completely from scratch and still keep your sanity. There is a little method to my madness. And so let's get started. So one of the first tips I have for you is make a plan. It's really hard to cook completely from scratch without a meal plan. A meal plan is essential in being able to get everything done within your day, but then also get 3 or even just 2, depending on how your family lifestyle is, meals completely from scratch on your table. And so without a meal plan, it's almost impossible to do. The reason for that is because it takes a lot of effort to put a from scratch meal together. And when you have a meal plan, you can always be one step ahead of the game. So for instance, today for lunch, I made chicken taquitos. And so I knew that I was going to make chicken taquitos because I put that on my meal plan on Sunday. And so today, when I got up, while we were doing school, kind of in the middle of everything in the shuffle of the day, I cooked my chicken. That way, my chicken was ready to go. It was sitting out on my counter getting cool, and I was able to shred it up within little snippets of my time, and they was able to be thrown into the meal right when we were ready. The other reason to make a meal plan is because things go flawless. So a lot of times I do a really good job of looking at our schedule, knowing when we're going to be out of the house, when we have a busy day, that kind of thing, plugging in meals that are very simple on the days that we are going to be really busy, maybe a crock pot meal when I know we're not going to get home till right at dinner time, something like that. But otherwise, you're able to switch things around a little bit. So if you have a meal plan for the week and you know what you're going to make for all 7 days, you've shopped for all of those days, so you know you have the ingredients for everything, it's really easy to switch things around if things don't just go as planned during the week, because life happens and you need to be able to have that flexibility. The other way a meal plan really works for you is if you're doing things like homemade bread, or ricotta cheeses or things like that that you are making yourself at home. It is really nice to have a meal plan because you kind of know when to plug in those days that you're going to need a loaf of bread. So if I know I'm making sandwiches for lunch on a Wednesday, Tuesday, I'm going to go ahead and make the bread that I need. So having a meal plan planned out for you is really beneficial in planning your day throughout the week and what you need to get done as you go. My tip number 2 is buy in bulk. So I have little white Gamma-Seal buckets. Well, they're not little, they're 5-gallon buckets everywhere around my house. I found little crevices in my tiny little home to get these buckets to fit and to work for us. So I buy as much as I can in bulk. I have a shelf over there with white buckets. I have white buckets stacked here on the floor. I have this shelf that's full of buckets. And when you buy in bulk, it is the best way to cook from scratch, because what you're looking for is ingredients that you can create a meal out of. It's really hard to make a meal plan when you don't have all the ingredients that you want. It costs a lot of money to cook from scratch when you're going to the store every single week and buying little bags of rice or a couple cans of different things. Instead, if you had bulk sugars, bulk flours, bulk rice, dry beans, all of those things, you can really make anything. So if it is possible to buy in bulk and keep it in these white seal buckets that will last for a year or more, then I highly recommend doing it. So I think of an ingredient that I use often, say cornmeal. I use it for cornbread. I use it to bread chicken, different things to do fried fish. And so I think about that ingredient, and it can very easily be bought in bulk, and I can put it in one of these buckets, and I will have cornmeal for 6 months or more. So I do that. Now, where I buy all of my foods in bulk is either on Azure Standard, or I go to Costco once a month. Most of my dry goods come from Azure Standard. You can buy gluten-free flours and different things on Azure Standard. I buy my pasta in bulk on Azure Standard that's gluten-free. So that is a main source, and Costco. And then if I need to, I will do a local grocery store for little things, but I try and keep it to those two grocery ways twice a month or once a month. So two places once a month, and buy as much as I can in bulk. This not only will save you money, but it also will make you have all the ingredients you need to cook from scratch in all kinds of meals. There is nothing more frustrating than finding a recipe that you really want to try and you don't have the ingredients to make it. And so this helps with that. All of my bulk ingredients are on a rotation, so I don't buy the same things every single month. It's typically every 3 to 6 months am I replenishing something. So once you get your bulk foods, you can then kind of go on a rotation. If your budget is tight, my tip for you is to start with one thing. So maybe the first month you're going to buy just bulk sugar. After that, the next month, you don't need to buy sugar again, but maybe you'll buy flour. It will take up some of your budget because it is expensive to do bulk right up front. But after that, it actually saves you money and you are just replenishing as you need it and you don't need it as much. My next tip is keep it simple. Just because you are cooking from scratch doesn't mean you need to have this 5-course meal that is super complicated. I don't cook like that. I do like to do different recipes that may be complicated at times, but that's not every day. So you will find if you jump on over to the blog, which I highly recommend, that most of my recipes are very, very simple ingredients you probably have and can make. There's nothing complicated about it. That is one of the easiest ways. Maybe 1 or 2 nights out of the week do you want to pick something a little bit more complicated, but for the base of what you cook, keep it very simple. That way you're able to stick with it and it's actually manageable. So tonight I am making either raviolis or wontons. I haven't decided which one, but that is a more complicated recipe. I haven't made it in a while, and it is something that everybody enjoys. So it'll be a nice special treat. It's on a day that we're home all day and I don't have a ton going on, so it's manageable. But when I do that, that may only be one time in the week. I'm not going to do something like that every single evening because that gets daunting and that is very hard to keep up with. So keep it simple. A simple soup, a simple sandwich is okay on homemade bread. Eggs and homemade toast. All of those things are very simple. Homemade waffles, very simple recipes that you can use and you can make in your kitchen. It's still from scratch, but it didn't take you a whole lot of time. My final tip is don't try and make the switch all at once. So I tried doing that and it is really hard and frustrating when you're not used to it. Pick a thing, pick one thing. Maybe it's just dinners that you want to do. Or maybe for me, it was making my own gluten-free breads. I really wanted to get doing that well and make a really good loaf. And once I got that, then it became a habit for me. It became off of memory and I was able to add in other things. So start small and grow with it. If you take everything out and all you have is bulk ingredients and every meal has to be from scratch and you aren't really in the rhythm of it, it makes it really, really hard and you get really frustrated. And the biggest thing is don't wait until you're hungry to start cooking. Your meal plan will help with that. Having your bulk ingredients will help in that because you can start doing things as your day goes on so that it makes the meal time go very quickly. But if you try and switch everything over at the same time, it does make it very, very difficult. And a lot of times you struggle with sticking with it. So start small, simple recipes, grow with it, have fun with it, and learn to love to cook because a lot of people say, well, I just don't enjoy doing it. And that may be true. And I didn't really think I enjoyed doing it until I started. And then once you start, it becomes almost like therapeutic for me. I love to be in the kitchen. I love to be learning new things, trying new different things. But I also like coming up with something that is so delicious and simple, but it's from scratch and we can just use it time and time again. So think outside the box and give yourself a whole lot of grace and start small and grow with it and learn to love to cook again. So I hope these tips were helpful for you. I hope that encouraged you to get in the kitchen and try cooking from scratch. Start with a simple meal and grow from there. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video. I send out one new video every single week, usually on Sundays or Mondays. Jump on over to the blog and join our community over there. I send out an email a week over there with recipes and ranch life, gardening tips, and all of the things that's going on here on our working homestead. I hope this video was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Take care.